it's like you have to make some cuts and tighten up on some things, not overspend on certain areas. And
what about when, people take shots, either online or like in person, employees want to blame you for something? How do you deal with that stress of being a business owner?
I mean, people judge commercial properties off of like how housing market is. Not the same. It doesn't really go even close. So,
hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Hook Better Leads podcast. And today I have Tony Flattum on.
How you doing, buddy?
Doing very good. Built Strong Roofing.
Exteriors.
Exteriors,
Yep.
All right. He's in the Twin Cities over here. Beautiful office. We did an office tour. Go check that out if you haven't. Could you give a 1-minute background of just like how you got where you are and where you're at today?
Yeah, so I got pulled into the business back in 2002 and got pulled in to do some production for a company for a season, and then got into the sales side, and then eventually worked my way over to owning my own company in 2006. Went through a couple of ventures there with some different business partners, and that's kind of what kind of created the Built Strong. Is in 2016 made a move that season over and helped get Built Strong going. So
awesome. And today we're going to talk about how to increase your profits even if your revenue is going down a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think people get scared. That top line number is we're so obsessed with it in the good times.
Yeah.
But the bad times, from what I understand, are not even bad. But if there's a little bit of a contraction in your local market or whatever's going on, sometimes allows you to trim the fat. So what have you been doing lately to kind of like get your house in order, considering there hasn't been a massive storm?
Right. I mean, pretty much. I mean, we always look at every single year going in, ramping up, planning for a big year. And then when you start getting going and you start to realize like, hey, the storms aren't as good or as close, and we don't like to chase and go too far. So we'd like to stay kind of closer to where we're at so we can kind of keep costs down there too by not having production staff running all over, hour this way, hour that way. So we just look at where we're at and tightening things up on our numbers, making sure our staff is right, not overstaffed. I mean, if you go into a year where you're doing big numbers and then all of a sudden now you're not doing as big numbers, you're down a little bit, you got to look at your staff and figure if you're overstaffed or not, and keep the ones that are on doing the right things, the ones that are not there for the right reasons, maybe move them out, and some of them quit anyways because they're not performing or whatnot, and so you're not overstaffed.
You guys have like 60, 70 people right now?
Right now, yep, about
And
70.
What percentage down was that from last year?
So last year we had close to 100 employees. And
so
then,
it's like a 30%.
Yeah. So going into this year, last year we went into the winter, going through getting everything set up for this spring, made some changes and whatnot on just tightening things up, and some people were on board and some weren't, and that was okay. And some would move on and some would just not perform to a certain level, and we asked them to leave kindly and move on, part ways.
But if your revenue goes down 30%, or sorry, what is it, 15% or something like that? I'm trying to do the math on, because you were at 40 and you're 35, you're projecting 35 this year.
Yeah.
So if your revenue went down, let's just say hypothetically, revenue goes down 15%, but you drop 30% of staff. We don't have to be as stressed.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
realistically, like I do feel the stress in business owners' like voices right now, and I don't think it quite has to be as intense.
Well, no, because everyone gets stuck on that number. Like even for us, like, oh yeah, we want to do $50 million. Well, yeah, we would love to do $50 million, but in reality, if you're not going to hit that, you can't step up for $50 million. You got to make sure you can have the right staff to get there, and then hang on to the ones that are truly there for the right reasons, and take a little risk here and there. But when you're projecting to do 35 over what we're shooting for now, it's like you have to make some cuts and tighten up on some things, not overspend on certain areas, and just pull back on your spending, and then making sure you're not overstaffed on employees.
And you've got like, do you do some like some people have said be quick about it. If you kind of know what it's going to be this year, be quick about it. Like make the moves soon. Is that how you are, or do you feel like you've waited a little too long?
No, sometimes it's back and forth. Sometimes I'm acting really quick, like I'm jumping on certain things, and sometimes I ride it out and wait a little bit because we can. Like we have some good reserves of where we can ride it a little bit more and hope that something's going to happen. Like even this spring, I mean, we started off and we were out there getting things going, but we were wanting a storm to have some activity to keep everyone motivated. But we were doing a lot of cleanup for last year, so we were actually come out of the gate doing decent. But we had a slow start with all the rain and the weather and whatnot. But other than that, we were pretty consistent. We just weren't like ramping as fast as we were, but we had to look at things and just realize like, well, you know what, let's staff for where we're going to be. And if we get another storm, we can always add more people if we need to fill the gaps. And especially going into the winter months, like you don't want to be way overstaffed going into the winter months either. So you got to figure out on where you're at for certain departments. If we're sitting good on production, if we're sitting good on sales, and going into the winter months and making sure we can keep everyone on.
Talk to me about how do you keep motivated and stay positive in yourself as an individual, like practically when you maybe had a goal and you have to shift it, like, or it's like something that's a little bit different than you thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's mainly just watching videos, being around the right people, going to networking events, knowing that it's normal. It happens. Not everyone's putting a goal out there every single year and hitting their goal every single year and growing. I mean, it'd be nice if we were doing 20 to 50 to 100 and just kept always growing, but that's not always the case. It's like the stock market. You're going to go up, you're going to come down a little bit, you're going to bounce back up. So you have to just adapt in those times and make the best of it. And just knowing from doing this for a long time, you just can't get overworked about it. You just got to deal with the turns and keep going.
Does your company want to build your brand and get more jobs in the neighborhoods you're currently working in?
The Brick by Brick playbook allows you to establish your brand, your reputation, and gain trust in any neighborhood in your service area with a series of 4 postcards sent once a week to the neighbors of your current jobs. If you want to get more work in the neighborhoods you're currently working in, get with the team at Dope Marketing and get your Brick by Brick playbook set up today.
Is there anything else positive that comes from these moments? I know that, sometimes it's an opportunity to trim underperforming staff in general, but is there anything else that's like kind of a positive thing about when these things hit?
Yeah, it conditions you on making sure that you're not overspending and getting careless. I mean, sometimes if you're always growing and you're just always seeing the money pouring in and you're just spending and having fun and blowing the money and not really saving it and investing it and making sure you're not overspending in a lot of areas, these times can actually condition you to make sure that you're doing the right things and looking at the numbers and the budgets and figuring out what's coming in, what's going out, and making sure that it's a good balance there. Because if you're way over on one side and it goes for too long, you're going to burn through all your reserves. Then you're going to wonder where all your cash went. So you got to always be watching that. And most people don't watch the numbers as much or their budgets, and they just keep thinking the money's always going to be there, and they keep living the lifestyle they want to live based on the year that they have. So I've always been pretty conditioned to where, like for me, I leave all the money in the company. I just pay myself a salary. So I don't really, look at a year and say, oh, I had a big year, I'm going to go spend it in a bunch of stuff.
You pulled out chunks for like real estate and
investments, but that's different. Like you're buying properties that are paying you back.
Okay, there you
go.
go.
So their money's going to work. So it's always available. It's always there.
Any numbers, like let's say there's a younger entrepreneur, or 3 years into their new business, what kind of numbers would you focus on in a time like this? Or just any contraction or local market situation where it's like, am I as trim as I need to be? What are some numbers you would look at? Like
a 3-year business, roughly?
Yeah.
I would say, shooting for that 5 to 10 million.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying like the specific metrics, KPIs, like you you're most paying attention to net profit.
Well,
do you pay attention to any other numbers a lot?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at what's coming in for sales, and then I'm also looking at what's going out the hard cost for salaries. And you want to kind of figure roughly, you figure about 10%. So like if you have, say, $1 million coming in, well, that means you have $100,000 to work with your employees, your expenses. Anything over that, you're overspending. Anything under that, you got cushion, you got room to go. So if you can always figure like, okay, if we're going to do just say $20 million, well, that means we got $2 million to work with overhead, signs, allowances, things that we can do. Now, if we're overstaffed or we're looking at it, projection if we're overstaffed and we're going to have 2.4 million in cost, well, you're $400,000 in the hole. So you got to always kind of look at that number, whatever the number is for you. For me, it's 10%.
Absolutely. And that's probably a fairly common one for roofing.
It is. It's pretty even. I mean, there's times where you can go higher or lower, but
Yeah.
10% is pretty much a safe call to where if you can figure that your hard expenses, now obviously material and commissions and all that stuff is all part of COGS. It's all part of a different deal. But like hard costs, like your building, your rents, your office staff, employees, signs, marketing, all that stuff, you want to make sure you're under a certain number.
And I know you're a fairly active, your biggest thing is local marketing and then door knocking. So very, very locally focused. That's been your strategy.
Yeah.
And then you don't like your guys becoming lead babies. I would love it if you could give a little bit about what, because you have an event coming up here at Hook Agency.
Yeah.
What is the date on that?
It's the 18th of September.
September 18th at Hook Agency. And it's, do you know what the cost is?
I don't. I mean,
But check it out. What is it going to be called?
It's one more door. It's going to be, marketing for our mastermind and some training that we do. And we're going to have in Beacon's going to be in there helping out and speaking and doing some stuff. We have some other guys from Chicago coming in to talk and go over some things too. So
come hang out. I think it's always a good time when we have these events at Hook Agency. It's really a space that's kind of built for roofers. Like, it's fun in here.
Yeah.
I love talking about marketing with y'all. So we appreciate that you guys are going to have that here.
Yeah.
How do you keep your guys motivated as they're knocking in markets where it feels like there's less low-hanging fruit? And what are some things you guys are changing around your systems there now?
Yeah, it's just making sure that they're always having the attention. I mean, you just can't have them go out there and just do their own thing and float and run around, because they're going to get burnt out real quick. I mean, we have meetings every day and throughout the week, training, and our sales managers getting with the guys and following up and making sure that they're just patching them back up and saying it's okay, like, it's tough, it's going to be harder. But you got to look at it whenever there's not big storms and you're out there and you're running around knocking on doors, and a lot of them have been done from the previous year. And then you have where they're not getting everything approved, but it's like, well, you can't have best of both worlds where everyone's like, well, yeah, I'd love to have huge hail. Everything gets bought and no one's around. But it's like, if you have a big storm, then you're dealing with thousands of companies coming in and running around and knocking on doors and getting jobs. So you're not going to have everything easy. So you just got to pick your battle. And I think with us, I mean, I've always been in the business to where I like to work in marginal, not work in the smashed ground zero areas that are just hit the hardest. Work on the outskirts where there's damage, there's good stuff to work, but where the homeowners more need you, to where they have to explain to them like what the process is, and taking pictures and showing them like, hey, you don't think your roof's damaged, but let me get up there and show you and take a look and see. And if it's in great shape, great, you have a clean bill of health, and we'll give you a card and give us a call down the road if anything happens. I mean, we get a lot of leads just from that alone, being honest and just telling them that you're in good shape. But the ones that have damage, you're taking pictures, getting back down, putting them in the system, and getting them going through the process and showing them, and just telling our guys, like, it's a numbers game. And you can't go out there and work only for 3 hours and knock on 50 doors thinking you're going to get a lot of business. I mean, you have to take massive action to get massive results. So we just always let them know, like, push for 200 doors. Get out there, knock on a lot more doors, meet with more people, get on, do some inspections, and not just having them think they're a salesperson knocking on doors. Like, you're actually out there servicing the customer, trying to be that provider to help them. And we look at it as like we're getting our leads, right? That way too, if you're out there knocking on all these doors and you're getting them in your system, no damage or damage, you're taking those pictures and putting them in your CRM, you have a lead there. So now whenever it storms again, you can print off that list and go back through and say, hey, I was out there a year ago, I was out there 2 years ago, and you had no damage. I have your pictures in my system showing that there was no damage. I can go back out there and take kind of the same pictures of the vents. If there's dents, it'll show your adjuster that there's damage there now. So it just kind of helps build that
system?
AccuLinks.
AccuLinks,
Yeah.
okay. How about switching to a different topic briefly? I know it's going to be a fairly short one today, but What is something that you're doing in your life right now to create a sense of balance or steadiness or...
So Rilla allows you to listen to, it's an AI in your pocket, listens to the appointment. It's pretty crazy what it can do. It gives a script, gives everything they said, it breaks down some statistics for you.
Analyze talk ratio, interactivity, like how you and I are interacting back and forth, longest modeling, like all those things.
Honestly, this is the shit that I most believe in AI.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Enhancing the
You're
user
about to put
experience.
math and data around something that used to be my magic skill.
What is something that you're doing in your life right now to create a sense of balance or steadiness or... You seem like a pretty calm person. And I think that probably helps you make good decisions in business.
Yeah.
What are you doing to help cultivate that mindset?
I mean, just mainly, I guess, been just doing it forever. That's one of the biggest things is just, I don't get overly worked up on certain things. I've seen a ton of different things happen over the years, and just not much really excites me or gets me going, on that. So I just have a plan, put it in place, and work with the guys to get them going, and just know that things happen for you, not to you. And when bad things happen, it's like you're going to learn from it and take the lesson and apply it, and don't get worked up and get mad about it. And I think that just kind of feeds off to my team to where they don't ever see me and running around getting overwhelmed or freaking out that there's no storm. It's like, we don't need a storm. I've worked marginal my whole life, and when I can preach that and show that, and my sales director has been with me for 18 years, he's the same way. He's been through all these years where there's no storms and stuff. So we can go out there with experience and saying like, hey, this is okay. We're going to get out there. We're going to knock on more doors. We're not going to get as many results, but we're going to get results. And let's just keep it going. And when a storm hits, then it's even easier and better. Let's build your base and keep going.
What about, I know that as a business owner and as a person, I mean, you've been trying to push up your influence in the space a little bit, probably related to the one more door thing, join one more door.
Yeah.
But what about when, people take shots, either online or like in person, employees want to blame you for something? How do you deal with that stress of being a business owner and still maintain the right kind of attitude towards the rest of your employees?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing the right thing. So people can go out there and say whatever they want to say and twist things from the smallest thing to the biggest thing and make it look worse. And we know the truth. So for me and for my team, it's like we talk to our team and we're transparent. We're like, hey, we have this going on, or we have that going on. And, and most people are like, yeah, we know how that person is, or we know that this person wasn't working and they left and they're wanting something from the company. And it's like, they didn't earn it, So it's like, we have everyone sign agreements to where we're on the same page from where you're at, what you're doing, and you get paid up until you're here on a certain amount. And when you leave, you forfeit your jobs and to go because you're getting paid on the front end on the jobs. And when you leave, you get, you don't get your commissions on the back end. And we have it all spelled out and laid out. But some people just want to sit there and say, well, hey, you owe me another $5,000. It's like, we don't owe you $5,000. You didn't earn it. Like,
I do think that that's something the industry in general could get better at making super clear to reps on the front end. Because reps are always mad about that. Yeah. And it's like, you hope that somebody has contracts in place and the contracts say that once you're done, you're not getting these commissions.
Yeah, because forever, so many years, they would leave the company, and I was always the one that would just pay them their full commission. And we would always walk and part ways the right way and say, hey, do your part, call the customer, help see it through and close it out, and I'll pay your commissions. But then over the years and years of doing this and keeping spreadsheets of guys that weren't here no more, and we're doing everything to close it out, they're doing nothing. They're over there probably even bashing us, and they're still calling, hey, where's my check? It's like, dude, you're not doing anything to help us with this. You didn't follow through with what you're doing on your end. And so I would always still just pay them. That's why I always got the good name in the industry of paying your reps. But then I got to a point to where it's like, you know what? I'm tired of keeping spreadsheets of them not following through on their end, and we have to follow through on our end. So now let's lay it out, full agreement where it's crystal clear, to where it's like, you know what you're getting paid all the way through certain stages, and when you leave the company, you forfeit your files because you're getting paid higher on the front end, and on the back end, if you leave and you don't close your stuff out, you don't get paid on those. So it's just clear, and it has to be, and And some people just don't understand it, and they start complaining and causing a problem until we can show everything and go through it, and then they realize, like, okay, I get it. So
I look up to you on the property, ownership side of things.
Yeah.
And as a person who's putting your money to work for you, I think a lot of roofing company owners should take note of figuring out how they can do that. So, by the way, I just got my first Airbnb
awesome, man.
down in Austin, Texas.
Good area.
And I'm looking for an office space over here in the Northeast. And I think we're just going to be a single tenant. It's going to be us.
Yeah.
But we're spending a good amount on rent. And I like the in-office culture, even though we have a couple days work from home. And I don't know, I guess I'm going to be real selfish. Commercial real estate market right now in the Twin Cities. And I don't know if it affect, like, we can talk generally, but like it probably is kind of similar around the country a little bit.
It is.
Where are we at in the down cycle? Are we close to the bottom? Are we and probably like the interest
Not
rates
for
will
commercial.
affect-
So commercial, I mean, that's why people judge commercial properties off of like how housing market is. Not the same. It doesn't really go even close. So like a housing market, I mean, you can have it go up and down so much. You lose so much value on the house. It could be $200,000 the 1 year. It's $350,000. In commercial, anything over 4 units is considered commercial. And really the banks and everything view that off of the rents that are coming in. So if you have a fourplex that are paying you $1,000 each, $4,000 a month coming in on revenue, well, that valuation is going to be based on that $4,000 on that property for a commercial property for a fourplex or above. So most places aren't going to be, I mean, you're not going to see commercial going way up or way down a lot of times. It's just based on the rates. Because even right now, the rates are high and they're not cash flowing as much. So I mean, you're buying properties, they're just not going to cash flow as good as they were at 3, 4, or 5%. So you got to be
I'm just
patient.
kind of hoping that, well, one, I'm hoping that the rates go down.
It will.
And two, I'm kind of hoping that but I kind of want to get it before that affects the prices going up. You know what I mean? Like if there was like 2 or 3 rate drops in the next 6 months, that'd be great.
Yeah,
But
it's
then,
hard to time the market perfectly.
I just
It is.
didn't know if you had any magic tricks.
No,
for the-
it's hard. It's hard to time it. But the thing is, I always tell everyone that real estate, if you hold over time, it always wins. It's undefeated. It's always going to go up.
Yeah.
So no matter what, you buy a property now, even though it's not cash flowing the best, you buy the property, hang on to it for a while. In 10 years, it's going to be worth more than what you paid for it either way. And I always look at it to where, as long as you're taking your money and putting it towards something, it's still a write-off. You're still getting some tax benefits, so you're saving there. You're just not seeing the actual cash. You're just seeing the write-off, which is saving you on your business. And then you hold that for time. The renters are paying your mortgage and paying your taxes and paying everything, to where in 10 years that property is being paid down, plus the value is going up. It's a double win.
So what would be your, if you're a roofing company owner who's trying to end this year with a little purchase of some type or big purchase, let's say they have $300,000 that they would like to allocate, what would be your go-to as far as some type of investment?
Yeah, I would look for $1 million property. $300,000 is about 25%, 30% down.
Yeah.
So you can figure you can always buy. I mean, some banks
Would
will
you go
do
for like a
20%.
duplex or something?
I would skip a duplex.
You'd go for a single.
I wouldn't even go single. I would go to a fourplex or more.
Okay.
And I bought a lot of single families early on. I bought some duplexes early on, and I realized that I wish I would have just jumped to a fourplex or more, and just go for it. Because even a fourplex, I mean, you think about it. If you look and find, there's deals out there that you can find. You know, a fourplex averaging $100,000 a door. $400,000 for a fourplex. I mean, you can buy a nice house for that, right? So I mean, you think about it, if you look hard enough or find ones that just people hung on to for 10, 15 years, needs a little maintenance, needs to fix it up a little bit. They haven't raised rents much, so they're just hanging on to it, and they could sell it for $400,000 or $500,000. Rents are about $1,000 to $1,200. Well, geez, you mean you buy that, put down 20%, that thing can put $1,500, $1,800 a month in your pocket, free and clear, everything paid for, all the bills, the expenses. I mean, you can put $300,000 or $200,000 into something, or $1 million property even more. But say for The $400,000 property, you put, 20% down, and you're sitting there pocketing, $1,800 a month. That adds up every month, just coming in. Plus, the property's going to grow over time.
Are you okay with kind of like a little bit distressed areas, or do you generally try to go in the nicer areas with a distressed property? Like if you had to go lower?
I go where I know. And
where you know.
I go, where you know the market, you know the area, you know the rents. Even if you don't know the area real well, if you can look around at that place that you're looking at buying, look around what everyone else is paying for rent and compare it. If they're all like $1,300 a month for a similar size or a little bit more, and you're at $1,000, you know that you can get into that property, fix it up a little bit, make it look sexy, and frickin' rent it for $1,200. Start raising the rents a little bit, now you're even making more money on the property. Now it's worth more too.
Let's go. So that was a little treat. That's an ongoing series we've got called Real Estate with Tony. We're going to let him go here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Where can people check out your website?
Yeah, you can go to builtstrongexteriors.com.
And check out One More Door.
And One More Door as well. Yep.
One More Door here in September. Thank you guys for watching. Podcast is put on by hookagency.com. Hook Agency all over social. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.